everyone. I'd like to open this meeting of the Carver Board of Selectmen for Tuesday, March 20th, 7 p.m. This meeting is being cablecast by Area 58 Community Access Media, Channel 15. There are openings on several committees. Please refer to the Board of Selectmen page on our website for a listing and application. Everybody will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Robertson will be reading the prayer this evening.
God, humbly we pray your blessing as we concern our life with the opportunity to serve our community. Enhance us with your spirit of dignity, selfless. May we become instruments of support and understanding as we seek to bring the environment of trust and adequate provide for many services that we help us achieve the goals of now and especially we lift our prayer for all that we have been allowed to serve, that they may discover the full joy that we have, and keep those serving our armed forces out.
Amen. All right, now we'll move on to citizen participation. This is the time we allot at every meeting, about 10 minutes if we can try to, where citizens can go ahead. Could you wait till I call on you, ladies? I mean, we have several people here. Thank you. And we do ask that you keep your comments to about 3 minutes, in case there are multiple people that wish to speak, and I have a funny feeling that might be the case. So if you could, keep it to 3, that would really be appreciated, because so everybody, or as many as possible, get a chance to speak. Now, come on up. You? Yes. Please have a seat, identify yourself, and make sure you get into the microphone so everybody at home can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, this is okay. Nancy Ryan, 3 Presidents Way. We are here tonight to talk about the update of the COA. We have a lot of problems with it, and begin by saying that I know it's been changed. It was on 2 floors. It has now been decided that it will be put on 1 floor. The important thing that we need is we need another bathroom if we're going to get into logistics. It's very important for the seniors. We have special needs. I don't understand how this is going to work, I know I've heard that part of the library is going to go to the 2nd floor. I know we're not going to see any new plans. We are just mystified how this is all going to come together. We have 8 freezers plus 1 walk-in freezer. We have a loan closet where wheelchairs and canes are kept that the citizens can come in. We have a dispatcher. We have a craft room. And the biggest concern is, where is the parking? We keep hearing that there's an issue with the parking. So we think we just deserve our own building. We can wait. We've been there for years. It's working right now. And why can't we just wait a couple of years and get our own building, and let's just do it right? I don't know. We don't understand what's the rush, why this has to be done.
Hi. Madeline Joyce, 170 High Street, Carver. I have to agree with Nancy. I don't understand what the rush is. We've been there for years. Now all of a sudden, you want us out of there. I think it's tough. I don't think the library is going to do it all. And like she said, there is no parking. You got the playground there. I mean, I think it's tough taking anything away from the kids, which was rumored that might happen, to tear the playground down and expand on the other side. That's just too much.
Okay.
And I think, and I was going to say, and I think we deserve, I hate to say this, but I do think we deserve, people in this town have been paying taxes to this town for years, and I think the seniors of this town do deserve. The police are getting a brand-new building, they definitely deserve it. The fire's got a beautiful brand-new building. You're putting up a brand-new school, you just did the elementary. You're going to put in a brand-new recreation area up at the middle school, high school. I'm sorry, I think us old-timers deserve just a little bit of something, and the only thing we're asking for is just a small, nice new building with a nice big parking lot so we can have some fun too.
Okay, and I appreciate those comments. Unfortunately, the Board of Selectmen have no more authority as to what is going to be built than any other citizen, than you folks or whoever shows up at town meeting. Really, I liken what's been out there so far, the possible plan. All it is just a concept. Concepts are so far away from what a final plan is going to look like. Basically, if the town votes to approve the funding for this project, then that's when the building committee goes forward. They hire an architect and a program manager, and I would hope that the architect would come up with at least a couple, if not 3 different plans to be under consideration. And taking in, because I know, it's been said, well, there's not enough parking. Well, the parking that's there now is not going to be what's there for this project, no matter what they do. There, we're going to have to go ahead and expand parking, move it someplace, maybe to the front of the playground, maybe on the other side of the playground. There are a lot of possibilities. No one knows what it's going to look like. That's why I really hope we get a really good attendance at the meeting, which probably we'll talk about a little bit later, which because of the weather might have to get postponed again. But make sure you come to the meeting, let your voices be heard, and everybody's voices be heard. That's going to be an important meeting. But then as the process goes along, as a building committee meets, and if the money gets approved at town meeting, because it's going to take a 2/3 vote, make sure all those meetings will be open meetings, either on television or better yet attend, because if B.J. Harriman's running them, 90% of the times he's running meetings, he makes sure that those that come in from the public get a chance to speak. Now, the thing about the extra bathrooms, definitely, that's something that needs to be brought up because it's a valid point in all the different spaces. But until there's actually a design as opposed to a concept, we're really just kind of, looking at the dark and looking at the worst case. So this is the time before they get these plans developed to go ahead and make your feelings known and make sure you bring them up Wednesday. B.J. Harriman, the chairman of that committee, is extremely open. At least everything I've dealt with him has been. And, so the next step is really, because the Board of Selectmen, we don't get to say what this building is going to look like. We don't get to say how many parking spaces. We're just citizens like you in this regards.
Just one more thing. I know the town meeting is 7 o'clock at night. A lot of seniors don't drive at night, and like that. The elections are held on a Saturday during the day. Can any chance this town meeting be done on a Saturday?
Not at this late date, no. But, I mean, that date is that's locked in.
That's locked in
I'm afraid so.
In gold.
Yep.
I agree. We have it starting at 6:30.
Into the microphone, please.
A lot of logistics. That's why we try to start a little early. Things a lot.
Now, I'm not going to let my speaking cut into citizen participation time, so if there's anything else, ladies, I'd like to give somebody else a chance. I'm going to go on Mr. Ward next, please, Mr. Shea.
Good evening, Selectmen. I'm Dick Ward. I live on 20 West Street.
Sure you don't want this seat
Citizens, pardon?
back? Sure you don't want this seat back, by the way?
I'm a retired selectman, and that's the way it's going to have to stay.
Darn.
I was talking about the Council on Aging with my wife. My wife has been on the Council for Aging for maybe 30 years. I was also one of the selectmen when we, the town of Carver, bought the Atwood House from Mrs. Atwood. That was 40 years ago. So it gives you an idea of how long we've been using that building for our Council on Aging. I am concerned at this point because I like the idea of considering a new Council on Aging project. I think it's that time. I went to a St. Patrick's Day dinner the other day, and it was scheduled to start eating at 11:15. I got there at 11:15, and the place was practically full. So I had to park down by the beach. I know it was about 200 yards or more, and although I walk it okay, there are other people my age that won't. My wife said, you know, you're closer to 80 than you are 70. And I said, okay.
I didn't know she was that cold.
Oh, well, your wife? My concerns are that it is a difficult building for elderly to move around in. But we've made do, and it's worked. There are a lot of steps from the parking lot up. I counted the number of cars in the parking lot directly beside the building, and there were only 14 parking spaces. So you either got to park down below if you're the overflow crowd like I was, or out on the road, or down. And then when I came out of there were 4 or 5 cars parked right on Lakeview Street, and that is a difficult intersection, backing in and out. So traffic-wise, I think that if we could be, Council on Aging Center could be somewhere on the community main site, where the library is, where the town hall is, where the police station is, this would be and work out better. And traffic-wise, parking, I was just looking at the library. We have space in front of the library that could be expanded parking. We can widen the road and have parking on that. There's expanded area on the library site that could be used for parking, I think, if a project went forward. The idea of everything on the first floor, I think, is a necessity. I've visited Middleboroughs, Lakeviews, Lakeville, Duxbury's, Council on Aging's, and they're all no steps. And in where you can be involved in the activity of the program. I don't think that all the elderly in town would be against us trying to do it as a community project, maybe part of the library. I think that allows for good use of that whole facility. It seemed to me to make sense from that point of view also. So generally speaking, I support, and I would encourage the selectmen to support that article as you go forward and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Mr. Shea. And that's probably going to be it, unless there's somebody that's going to feel really desperately a need. But Mr. Shea, welcome.
Hi, Cornelius Shea, 148 Plymouth Street in Carver. I agree that we need a new COA. I've been pushing it for years. I just feel that we're kind of rushing in and not giving opportunities for this. I know it'll come to town meeting and we can vote on it then, and I hope a lot of people show up for it. I think the seniors in this town, many of them have special needs, and they deserve a level of dignity, privacy, security, and respect that can only be afforded by a standalone building. I feel attaching this COA to the library is going to create more issues with both the library, the playground, and the surrounding areas. I certainly hope that the town fully supports a new COA center, but I think the town should be given the options of looking at various projects rather than one single track that's been proposed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shea. Okay, since Mr. Shea didn't use his full 3 minutes, anybody else? Nope. Well, thank you very much. And now we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is continuing to go through the town meeting warrant for review and approval. Mr. Malinowski.
Front and back, you have the latest draft of the town meeting warrant. There have been some minor changes to the town council and some numbers as well. So if I could just quickly go through that. Article number 1 is there are no changes. Article number 2, since we realize we're impacted by snow, a whole bunch of other nasty things from Mother Nature. So we are looking to transfer some money in to cover the snow and ice deficit out of funds that we currently have and reappropriate funds. We're still going through the numbers of that, but again, that's going to be the item that we're looking for. From there, in Article 3, and I think this helps address some of the questions that were asked at the last meeting. Item number A, is that number has moved up to 117,000. I think I mentioned before that we were going to be looking to get the final numbers in for the recreation complex, and that allowed that number to go up a little bit more. From there, in the informational summary, we've got a few more informational summaries that's in there. I would draw your attention to the chief is attempting to create a little bit of humor. On page 4, when I went through and asked him to provide a sentence.
I was going to say, was this by the chief or was this by the comma lady?
No, this was by the chief, and he gave me a choice of what version to use. So I think I'm going to lean to the second version, but I hadn't quite made up my mind yet, so I just wanted to leave the first version there for you to have a little chuckle with. Again, he is our brilliant chief. And he reminds us of that twice in his statement. And
Yeah,
again,
but I noticed you didn't cross out the wonderful town administrator. Yeah, we forgot to do something.
again, chief humor. And I think that's a whole different category of humor. So again...
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on, exactly. And then you see at the end there, the number was reduced in Article 6, an amount of $831,000 is being requested on free cash to be used for the high school track and field. So again, that's in the informational summary. It's just a note to tie that back into Article 6 when we get to Article 6. Article 4, and again, you've already voted these. Article 4, no changes of significance, more typographical changes that were done. And you guys did vote that 5-0. Article 5, there's been some modifications in format. We also have two items that we're going to be putting in here to rescind as we go through our audit report. One is there was some money tied into the fire engines that we need to rescind because we haven't borrowed it for our fire engines. And then also from Open Space Water District. There's also, several $655,000 that we're looking at receiving that as well. And again, we take those off the books because when we rescind authorized debt, it basically says you have a credit card for this amount of money. If we're not going to spend that, then we want to get rid of the ability. That's why we go through and up on a regular. As it relates to everything else, I think if you go down to Part B, on page 7, kind of breaks down the different projects. So Part BA is the addition to the library for the Council on Aging addition, design, construction, furnish, equip, including upgrades to the library's HVAC upgrades for $5 million. Part B is the police station building, design, construct, furnish, equip for $4 million. And then Part C is the $500,000 that we have to put in there for, contingency. On Part C, after talking to town council, and he believes that our bond council may want us to assign that number. So what we may end up doing is assigning that number to the two projects up above proportionally, and probably put 200,000 towards the library and 300,000 towards the police station. And again, it just helps from when you issue the bond out to Wall Street to precise. Part C is a little bit confusing because it doesn't say where the money's going to go. We did that deliberately because one project may need contingency, the other one won't. Just by putting it up there doesn't mean we're going to spend it. It just means that we're building the contingency into each one of those numbers. So I anticipate that being changed.
And before going on, please. First off, under Part A, Purpose E, FY18 police cruiser replacement, shouldn't that be FY19? FY19 budget.
Actually, that FY18 should be in item. Let me tell you why. Is because
Please do.
generally what we do is we put the capital articles together. Is they're for the next fiscal year. However, we are taking some of this money out of our reserves of capital, so it's not all next year money. So if there's a project that we may anticipate spending before June 30th, we want to identify FY18. So it really should be under E for fire and police equipment. This is to outfit the new officers for the police and fire that have just gone through training. So that's why you would have that for FY18. You are correct that it should go from E to E.
Okay, my second point I want to bring up is that when we first originally voted this article, 5-0, it was set up with the capital improvement budget Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D. And I like that. It's one of the reasons I voted for it, as was because it was very easy for someone at town meeting to make a motion to say, I think we should be voting each section separately. And now you've only got an A and a B, and if someone wanted to pull out let's say the library and COA building, or pull out the police station, it's a lot more difficult. Now you'd have to have a motion. I'd like to have Part B, sections A, B, and C all voted on separately. So it looks like things have been squished together from what was originally presented to the board and voted on.
Right. And I think hearing that, we'll have Part B will be the library, Part C will be.
Right, and Part D was the extra.
No, we don't need Part D because we're going to.
Because you're going to move that money and assign it. Yeah,
Right.
I think that's much easier, not only for us on the board to understand, but also make it easier for town meeting if they decide to vote each part separately, to be able to do that and make it understandable. Because Part A would be a straight majority vote, where Parts B and C will require 2/3 vote. Okay, thank you.
So that is our capital article. Moving on to Article 6. In here you see the Part A, which is the existing operation fund. Part B, which is the rescinding of the borrowing amount and paying cash for the elementary school sports property. Part C is the borrowing of $3.25 million for recreation complex. And Part D is where that $831,000 moved up from free cash in Article 3 into this article.
Which parts require a 2/3 vote if they were to be taken separately?
So the only item that requires a 2/3 vote
That would
in
be-
here would be C.
B, okay.
I
So
don't believe
someone,
Part B does because you're rescinding, but that one may because it's still affecting bond language, but I don't believe a rescind requires a 2/3.
we'd have to get ruling from our town council on that. Because I want it to be articles where we have multifaceted topics on these articles. I really want to make it easier for the town, the town meeting body to go ahead if they wish to discuss things separately and vote on them separately. I want to make it as easy for them as possible.
Definitely, the only one that definitely requires is the Part C, Part B is question.
Okay, thank you.
But town council will be able to find on.
Thank you.
Moving forward, Article 7 is probably going to continue to be modified by town council. And just leave it at that. It's going to
In that case, we're not going to take any action on that tonight.
That's correct. And then tied into here, there's also an acceptance of a section of the law for licenses and fees and service charges. If people don't pay their bills, then the treasurer can assign fees for that town hall. Just waiting for that language. So on that article, that is still in process. Moving forward, Article 8. These are the zoning articles. We've kind of put in the informational summaries at the bottom for the 5 different sections. We're still waiting for the planning board to have the final language that we're going to be doing, but at our last meeting, we went over all of that.
So we won't go ahead and bother with that one right now.
Article 9, there was some language request by the City Work-Off Committee, which is in Section 9, and Town Council actually added Section 11, page 13, and we're just waiting for Town Council to review the new language in Section 9.
Should we go ahead and wait for council?
I don't think that whether that language stays in Section 9 or not is material to the article. I think we discussed tonight, I think that can be moved forward to a vote. Again, subject to town council's final wording.
Feeling of the board?
I was going to suggest, though, if we're going to take up town council.
Okay, we will hold until April 3rd on that one. Article 10, we're getting through this quick.
Well, I mean, you did most of it last time, and all the money articles are done, so this is just kind of an update more than anything tonight. Article 10, you've already voted on. We're waiting again for the Finance Committee to review everything. And I would just suggest on Article 11, you might as well wait till the 3rd, too.
I noticed, the town council, do this editing in Article 11?
Town council did the proposed motion. They proposed motion.
Because where this is a petition, article, I'll leave it up to the board, but I'm almost thinking, I would prefer not to even bother taking any action on it. Well, the board wants to do a petition on it, that's fine. I've got no problem with that. I'm stating personal opinion on that. What is the feeling of my board members? Yeah, on the petition, Article 11, the petition articles, both, Part A and B.
My preference would be to credit for I'll go with the majority of the board.
Well, in that case, I will entertain a motion for if the board wants to take a vote on this article. All right.
At that point, leave it like it is or change it.
Maybe.
Well, between the 3rd and the 28th, we could schedule 25 minutes.
You mean the 24th?
Oh, no, wait, we couldn't do Sunday, so it'd only be 20.
All right, then that finishes up that action item, well ahead of time. Town administrator update, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members. Just a couple updates. We did have some in public comments, some comments on the Council on Aging addition to the library. I did have a meeting with some of the users of the facility a few weeks ago with Carol Julius, and we did discuss that the facility could go forward with only having all the COA activities on the ground floor, and I know that that was greatly appreciated. And it's nice to hear that everyone's still on board with that. As you had mentioned, there are a lot of details that need to be done by the design review team that have been selected for this once an architect has done. So as it relates to where the parking is going to be, the need for another bathroom, all of that can and will be studied. But, I think as was mentioned tonight by a few of the speakers, is that we need a new COA building. Yes, the building is troublesome from a repair standpoint, from an operational standpoint. It does need to move the seniors in a better facility that's more suitable to them than the current facility. As you know, we've had to shut down on numerous times due to pipes, electricity, ice, whatever it may be. But again, all of that can be addressed by the committee once, and hopefully town meeting does approve. Now, we are scheduled for tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for our next meeting.
You want me to get into a weather?
Well, I will let you go right into a weather report because I think we need to reconsider that.
Yeah, basically, from the latest forecasts, the Route 44 corridor on the latest computer models from Plymouth back through Taunton, Rhode Island, into Connecticut is what we call the sweet spot. Right now, looking at the current forecast holds for anywhere from 6 to 8 or 9 inches. Only problem is there may be some rain mixed in, so that can affect the amounts. But the real problem is the timing of it. Snow move-in right now expected late morning, mid to late morning. And with the high sun angle, even though it's going to be cloudy, a lot of the snow on the roads will probably melt off with regular treatment. However, as the sun starts setting and the snow intensity increases, drops the temperature, it'll be really increasing. So even if it's not, quote, that bad, start the to get to the meeting, judging by my sense, it could be a fairly lengthy meeting, probably an hour and a half, 2.5, 3 hours. By that time, it would be snowing quite heavily. I think the roads would be in rough condition, despite the extra efforts by our DPW. And I think just from my personal opinion, from a safety point of view, for all the residents, because we're hoping especially to get a lot of seniors there, I think I would recommend postponing it from Wednesday night. Now, I don't know what you have for possible dates. I know the weather's going to be great on Saturday.
Well, part of it, we have to check with the committee members to find out what they're doing.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, the good news is we have time before town meeting. So I'll work with Bill Harriman, the committee members, to get me scheduled at the following week.
Are we officially postponing it based on Alan's 24-hour in advance weather?
I think that is. He didn't let us down.
I am
2
so
weeks ago.
hoping for a beautiful sunset and just a warm, balmy temperature.
Thank you for your support, Mr.
Well, they just canceled half-day school tomorrow, early dismissal for tomorrow.
They're going for early dismissal? Or they're canceled school?
Let me read it.
That makes sense to me, but
Whether tomorrow, early release day, Carver Middle High School is dismissed at 10:50.
okay, so they're going for
Come to
early
farms.
release. That to me makes sense, okay. That way they still get credit for it because the school is really crunching to get everything done by the 29th.
I'll reach out to Bill Harriman and we will reschedule that. So let's by this meeting, it is canceled.
And we do want to make sure that's at a time and enough notice so we can make sure that we can get the word out. Because like I said, I want as many people there, not only just the seniors, although that's the most important. And if you read the agenda, seniors will, after they go through all the different parts of the committee and have the statements, seniors are getting priority for making comments to the committee, and I think that's as it should be.
Who's the majority?
Well, yeah.
I said majority.
All right,
I
okay.
keep saying majority. How?
Right there. That
much younger than you.
All right, moving on. Oh, yeah.
Just one thing, Ron, you don't have to call them. I know. Thank you.
And just one other comment I want to make too is, now again, it's important for us to keep accurate information regarding this project and other projects. And right now, there is no intention of tearing out the playground. Make room for parking, make room for the library. Again, we believe there's plenty of opportunities on the site, and right now, there's no need to alarm anyone that that's going to be ripped up. That'll be something that the committee will review, along with many different options as to how to go about doing it.
I think the committee is probably well aware, or at least should be, the importance of that playground to the community, and to, I would say it would be sacrosanct to even touch the playground itself, unless you want to expand it a little bit. But, you know, working around the edges for parking and things like
So you want to
that.
go through Sarah on that?
Get him, Sarah.
As the chair of the playground committee, thank you. I just wanted to add, though, that it's not just families with children who use that playground. There are a lot of seniors, grandparents, other caretakers who are out there all the time.
Well, that's what I
Cold
say,
weather.
you know, it's used by so
Oh,
many
yeah.
people.
It's probably one of the most used facilities in town.
And that's one of the key aspects of combining the facility that has been discussed at our committee meetings, that was presented by Carol Julius, is that you do have the synergy of having kids, seniors, and the library having joint use of the facilities at different times. Now, of course, we would make sure that the senior piece is isolated during some of their events, but at the end of the day, you want to give seniors the opportunity that may be watching their grandchildren to go to the library and go to the playground. So there is and has never been an intent to remove the playground. That's not saying that at some point we may need to cut off a fence in one area and cut off 20 square feet and add 20 square feet to the other just because of a radius of a water thing or a turning truck or something like that. But that's not removing the playground. And I just want to make that clear, that there is no intent of eliminating the playground. So,
Police station.
Police station. So the police station, Mr. Weatherman, on Thursday morning at 8 a.m.
Have a wonderful time.
Police station committee will be meeting on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. And at that meeting is what we intend to do is to move forward with issuing an RFP that Bill Harriman has been working on with the committee to
For the purpose of the general public, you want to explain what the RFP is briefly?
request for proposal.
Thank you.
For a project manager to manage the facility on behalf of the town, similar to what we've done with our fire station, elementary school, middle high school roof, and doors, windows. So our intent is to move that forward at that time. Once they get on board, which will probably be in or around town meeting, then the next step is to move forward with an architect, come in and
You
actually
wouldn't
help.
hire and spend any money until you know the project passes.
Yeah, but we already have money set, that's already been allocated for that.
We already have $235,000 to move the design process forward. What we would do is still move forward with doing conceptual designs, but we wouldn't get into construction drawings. Our design money wouldn't go that far, but we would better look at different designs.
Kind of giving it a jump start like we did with the fire station.
And it won't be until probably a May or June timetable when we start discussing the different sites. We have several different areas we're looking at, but again, those are all conceptual until we have some engineering analysis.
So we haven't even determined where the police station is going to review for it. Thank
We
you.
have several sites that the police chief is interested in, but we haven't gone more than that, and they look all reasonable. That is really through the full analysis. So that piece is moving along as well.
Carver, Marion, Wareham. Up.
So, there are many meetings that are ongoing with this project. Yesterday Robbins and I had a meeting with different town administrators, board member, and Samantha, to kind of discuss some of the different scenarios moving forward. Today there was a meeting over at DEP with the head of solid waste for the entire state, plus the head for Mass, trying to help us through this analysis. We are having our next meeting is as I mentioned before, there are many issues that we're still grappling with. We're still trying to account for all of the funds that have been spent in the district because there hasn't been an audit done since 2012. In January, the district board of directors, as I may have mentioned, in essence, ended any contractual relationship with the former executive director and/or his consulting company, and have put the 3 town administrators in charge of this project for the next 6 months to do a workout solution. Right now, in essence, we have 3 jobs, and that is, we're looking to kind of identify the funding issues of the past. We're working on between now and January 1st, 2021, when we no longer get free garbage disposal in Covanta. And then after July 1st, 2001, when 2021,
Thank you.
when disposal rates, at that time are probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $80 to $90 to $100 a ton. We're paying zero. As to how are we going to address for that for all of the towns. So as we're looking at that, we're also looking to do some consolidation with the district. Right now, we have run out of storage space for branches and leaves at the Rochester facility. That has been closed down for branches and leaves. And the same thing with the Marion facility. We are, given the storms that have happened, we are talking to the 3 towns to see if we can figure out a way in the spring to open up a couple brush days somewhere throughout each one of the towns where we can have people bring in their brush, and we can have grinders there and grind it up for those houses that don't have the ability of putting a bonfire and burning it out.
I was going to say, it is open burning season until May 1st.
So people have that ability. We encourage them to do that, provided they get their permit.
Yeah,
And they have a hose.
And call in for the permit on the day of burning.
So we're looking at that. It is anticipated that later on this fiscal year, probably in late May or June, we are going to consolidate the 2 facilities into one facility. And we're just working on the details of that, given that we can't afford to operate 2. Certainly in the future we won't be able to, and we're trying to make that transition. Several other things is that we're making sure that no commercial waste is dumped into the facility, as has been done in the past, or construction and demolition debris is dumped into the facilities. The board has eliminated any of that activity. We've also moved forward with pushing our hazardous collection day out into the fall. One of the things that was identified is some commercial operators of potentially automotive shops were bringing truckloads of used oil and antifreeze over and giving them to the district, and the district was paying, the $10 or $12 a gallon to dispose of that. Obviously, we can't afford to do that, so we're pushing that off, and when we do open that up, it will just be for residential uses, not for commercial. There are going to be some additional changes beyond the consolidation of the 2 facilities into one. We're going to be coming back to the towns and trying to establish, if you will, an illegal dumping fee around the district that will be as high as the law allows, because we do not want to have people thinking that they can just dump down any Cranberry Road or whatever it is, and that if they get caught, we want to make sure that they're fined to the fullest extent of the law. But we want to make sure that that's done with all of the towns, so we all have that fine regulation. We're also working towards having the same hauler regulation in each one of the towns. There's a constant theme to follow, as well as any other rules and enforcement procedures that they're consistent within the town. I think when we consolidate into the one facility is that there'll be talk of having potentially 2 attendants at that facility to better monitor versus 1. Because there has been, it's important in the waste stream that if a bin is only for certain items, that's what you put in there. Because if you put the wrong item in there, then technically it's a recyclable bin, then that product is contaminated. And right now, there is minimal market for any recyclables. Only item that actually is a commodity still on the market and it's low scrap value is metal. There is some limited market for clean cardboard recycling. When it comes to newspapers, plastics, glass, you have to pay to get rid of those disposal fees. There's no market for them. It doesn't mean the market's not going to change in a few years, but right now, to dispose of those items is just as much as it is to dispose of garbage. We're also going to have to be looking at district-wide is coming up with a common transfer access fee sticker so that each town has the same fee to use the transfer facility in order to make sure that that is accommodated. It's not unheard of for other towns to charge $80, $100, $200 for a fee. That's not what any of the towns are charging now. Not saying we're ever going to get to that number. But where we are, it's artificially low because of the fact that we have not been having any garbage disposal tipping fees in the past. So we get the big goose egg, and we need to plan for when that goose egg disappears. Goes to a certain number. I think just a couple other comments that I have on that is one of the other things that I just want to mention too is with the intent of the transfer facilities not to have contractors come in and if they do an addition, bring the small dump truck or the pickup truck, a big tarp over the back and then dump it all out. That's not the intent of it. These facilities were designed, intended, and permitted for residents. Come in and you have your 1 or 2 bags of garbage. Don't have a sticker and go to other towns and pick up their garbage, bring it over and get paid for it. We're trying to eliminate things like that as they happen. So in the future is that there will eventually be some type of a limit on the amount of garbage that you can drop off at the you won't be able to go there every day with a dump truck full of 1 or 2 barrels per week. So these are the things, again, I'm just trying to lay this out of things. They have to change because the district, when we came in and took it over, it was bankrupt. We're trying to work through that process right now. And we have to be financially responsible as to how we look at the next 3 years, 9 months, and then what happens after that.
Quick question. And I know we don't want to get too deep into this, but there's obviously the suggestion that there's been fiscal mismanagement. Are we going to consider a formalized forensic audit going back to 2012 to find out where these funds have gone that have put us in the hole that we're in now?
So,
and I say we, meaning the district.
well, I guess the best way I'm going to answer that is that we collectively, the 3 town administrators, as was issued in a press release a month and a half ago, we have been doing an administrative review of what's going on. Tied into that administrative review, a lot of other things that I can't get into the public session. Certainly have an executive session to go over those. Have some legal ramifications. But rest assured is that when we as the town administrators found this stuff out, we took appropriate action with the appropriate people to identify what has happened As part of that, as I mentioned in January, the board relieved the existing executive director of all their responsibilities. We are working again with the appropriate agencies on many different levels to identify what's going on here, so that if there is the ability of capturing funds, we will certainly do everything in our power to do. And I really just don't want to get into that anymore.
Well, it's fine.
In a
I just-
session. But I want you to rest assured that the board now and the staff supporting it are aggressively pursuing everything that it needs to do, and making sure that all the appropriate authorities are aware of what's going on, and in conversations with the appropriate auditing firms and banks and financial institutions. So with that, our next meeting is Wednesday the 28th at the district, and I'll be updating you at our next meeting. Dave Robinson has been graciously able to attend additional meetings beyond our normally scheduled meeting, and I think we have both become
Expert.
I don't know about experts yet, but we certainly know a lot more about crap than we did before.
Done a lot of trash talking.
John Carter and Bill Duggan on the committee as well.
John Carter, Bill Duggan, and Dave Robinson are the three Carver representatives. The same thing for Marion and for Wareham, they have some representatives. And we're also in some preliminary talks with Rochester, because they do use some of our facilities, whether or not it makes sense to bring them in or not. These are the things we're looking at. Again, the more people we have, the greater the economy of scale, the more efficient and effective we can make these things. And I want to just go back to the challenge we have beyond the past, is that today is just a bad day to be in the trash business, particularly because of the recycling business is problematic. We got to pay to get paid to take them off the hands. The other piece is that Massachusetts right now produces 7 million tons of garbage. 6 million tons are resolved in one way or another within the state. Landfills, whether that's incinerated. In 2 years or less than 2 years, 2 million tons of that capacity is going to be gone. That means you're going to have trucking costs or other transportation costs to move 3 million tons out of the state. And to give you an idea, Cavanta burns 1.1 million. It can't burn anymore. The facility's not designed to burn any more than that. There are no waste energy facilities coming online. What that's going to mean is that it's going to, not only do we have high recyclables, but we have high garbage. That's going to get higher. We're hoping over time that maybe recyclables start to go down a little bit. Get this type of seesaw thing. But right now, both things are pushing up. And, that's why we're real focused on the long-term strategy and using the next 2 years and 9 months to get us to that right position in time where we can best protect the country.
Dave, you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Maybe a couple of things. Michael talked about consolidating our 2 sites down to 1. It works out fairly well, but I would ask that everybody that's watching or uses those facilities to please bear with us as we get through this, because there has to be efficiency changes in the Rochester way of dumping trash. It's just chaotic at best in there, and that will be a priority for the board before we do that. Little tiny efficiencies, little gains, little wins along the way, closing the office down. This office was right in Marion on the water on a pier. Beautiful place. But we're looking to work on that and close that as soon as we're able to. But I would just ask that, yes, exactly. I would just ask that everybody just have patience right now. We're in a hole. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. There's a plan really beginning to take shape and form and effort, and we got goals and objectives. It's just a good long process, but it's long-term.
To build on that, board, the town administrators, none of us asked for this.
You don't really want me to talk, do you?
Give me one more second. And we didn't ask to solve this problem. It's not something that we want to do. It's something that we have to do. There are going to have to be changes in order for it to be financially sustainable, given the past management that occurred. Dave mentioned there will be changes. Not everyone's going to like the changes, but they have to be done given what's happened in the past. And to have a sustainable business moving forward. So we do ask your patience in that transition, how that's.
Anybody mind if I use voice a couple of concerns I have? First off, I want to thank all three town administrators. As you said, you didn't ask for this job, but you've got it. And you've got it for another only 3 months. I know you're still in the process of your administrative reviews and finding things, but there's only so much, because let's face it, each town administrator has a fairly full plate before even taking this on. Also, I have some real grave concerns about how we got to this point and how we reassure the public we don't ever get to this point again. So while still trying to be generally vague, because we are an open session, I would like to have an executive session at our April 3rd meeting that we can discuss this more openly. We can discuss it with Michael and maybe make a determination if we might need to seek the assistance of a higher level state agency that would have more resources to maybe do more digging. Because, they can only do, the three town administrators can only do so much. And I think it's imperative that something like this never happen again. You take on a district that was fairly well flush with cash to bankrupt. And that is just inexcusable to the taxpayers of not only this town, but of Marion and Wareham. And, we decide after executive session, talk about it, and then what we can then discuss in public session afterwards at our next meeting, where we go forward. But I think on the table in there has to be at least consideration of a higher level, state level agency. We'll put it that. So for our next meeting, we'll have an executive session in the agenda. I want it spelled out that this executive session is to discuss the Carver, Marion, Wareham disposal district. Yes, thank you. You're right. I'm going to keep it going, and like the Energizer Bunny.
I have about
Mr.
4
Clark.
other items I'd like to add to the executive session as well. I really don't see us getting out of here before midnight.
I'm sorry, disapproved.
At least in time.
I would just say, I
Excuse me?
absolutely agree.
I just wanted to ask, under what, right?
Possible.
Find the litigation, and
Right.
my intention would be to have town council here.
Would you please make it so? Yep.
Thank you. Our grounds for
our grounds for
allowing
having
to
it,
go in
right.
executive session.
All set, move on? Let's go to Board of Selectmen update. 31 minutes ahead of schedule. So I want to keep us ahead of schedule. Mr. Robertson.
I have nothing to add tonight.
Sarah.
Well, I just wanted to say for those folks who are concerned about the COA or the location, I think part of the issue is, or there may be septic issues, there may be water line, there may be parking issues, but that this article is allowing us to move forward to find out those things. That's my understanding. And, if the proposed building works at that location, then that's terrific. If it doesn't, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I didn't want people to think that we weren't listening to their concerns. It's sort of like the police station. we don't really know. I mean, we have a vague idea of the cost, but it could be more, could be less. I don't think so, but. And the other thing I wanted to just point out to the police station building committee is meeting tomorrow. Are you on that too, Ron?
It's Thursday.
Thursday. I don't want people to forget that the site the playground is currently on, that land was 13 acres. Playground takes up maybe 2 acres at most. So there's a lot of land on the other side of it.
Doesn't the well field?
The well field,
on it.
no, it's not on that
Oh, really?
side. No, the well field is next to an oak tree in the back. If you go out to the playground and you look at
That's how we identify it.
I was gonna say.
That's correct.
Okay, 3 spaces from the, I'm sorry,
Making
Sarah.
fun. This is probably one of the oldest oak trees in town. So let me just explain about the well water radius. The path that goes around the playground is paved to a certain extent, and then if you go into the woods, you'll notice it's that chopped up gravel. That's because that's where the well radius begins. So if you look on the original site plans, that's why none of our structures are located where that walking path is in that well radius. The empty part of that whole parcel is way off this way, towards Center Street. It doesn't look like it's there because it's
Towards
all...
the old Roby.
No, the old Roby's is where the playground is now, but the old Roby's site itself was 13 acres. Yeah, the hardwood...
The store will take a little further down. Yep, it was,
Okay.
trust me.
My point, though, is that there's a lot of land there, so it's just something that committee, might want to keep in mind. It's a when we designed the playground, there was a lot of concern that we might not have room for a police station. They were thinking of putting a police station. So we asked our engineers to please design that playground and show them that you can put a playground and a police station there if they wanted that. So they did. So it's on those plans.
I appreciate that clarification, because I don't think a lot of people realize that.
I didn't think so either.
Short timer, Helen.
Well, I actually don't have anything for
Oh, we're gonna be here for an hour?
but I am going to have.
Mr. Clark.
Wait a minute, notice the time?
Okay, Mr. Clark at
I'm
8:03.
Realize that
At
just
8:03.
eggs me on to add time. I'm going to be an extra 5 minutes simply because of this. First of all, 12:15 today, spring arrived. I'd like to welcome spring. And thank Alan for the wonderful job he's been doing in bringing spring along.
I'm in sales, not production. I advertise it. I don't make it. I don't take credit for good weather, and I don't take blame for bad.
And the other good news is baseball. And then just again on the projects, if you go back and look at the elementary school, if you go back and look at the fire station, we approved those projects. We didn't have the money. We approved the money, and set them up. Then they went out with a concept and developed it. So it's not unusual to have project. We approve the concept, move forward with the understanding, how many have the understanding of what our goal
Each of those projects had ample opportunity, in fact, strongly encouraged public input in each and every one of those.
we step along. And I just a reminder, because I think sometimes it gets lost, is that all of these projects we're talking about, COA, the police station, the athletic field, are all under the tax. No debt exclusion coming with any of these. People's taxes aren't going up any more than they ordinarily would. We're getting, we'll be able to do these projects without having to increase people's taxes more than.
No other town or city in the state of Massachusetts is doing it the way we are.
And
I can't help you with that one.
I guess we're, and when I mentioned the fact that we're able to do this under the tax levy, that's why I feel strongly that we should take a stand on the two petition articles, because it's been by adhering to our fiscal policy that was voted on by town meeting that we're able to do this. We've been having very clear conversations with the schools that once we get past funding these capital items this year, we will be working with them to perhaps not put as much money away because we will achieve our fiscal goal. But but I think that to adjust them without the selectmen being on board and doing so, I think it's wrong. We've gotten this far. We have the town in the shape where the auditor is telling us that we are a level above our peers in the way we are conducting business in the town fiscally. I think that's why I feel we should vote against those articles. In terms of the garbage contract, just been around a while. That was, I think, a 30-year contract that was set up back in Franklin originally. And, so it's just coming to an end. And, the big driver in that also is the land contract was tied. That's why all this is up. We have 2 or 3 years, and I think an excellent committee working on trying to come up with solutions so that as we ease into the post-Covanta Carver landfill period, we'll have hopefully a soft landing on the other side. And then finally, just to announce that Edaville was supposed to open April 7th, but due to the weather, it's going to be pushed off now till April 14th. So, depending what Alan does with tomorrow's weather, hopefully it doesn't get pushed off to the 20th. However, as of right now, April 14th, and I believe if you check in, oftentimes there are bargains on the check in on the website. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Well, after that and being slammed like that, I think I'll just go ahead and tell people to be safe about especially tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. And also, when the next meeting, rescheduled meeting for the COA, I urge everybody to possibly get there, voice your concerns, but, just remember that everybody gets a say. It's not just this group or that group, that gets to hold sway. I tried to say at the beginning of the meeting, we here on the board have no more authority in what this COA is going to look like than any other resident in town. We can voice our opinion. We can go ahead and give ideas. But that's it. First it's town meeting, whether they're going to support it, which I hope they do, the funding for it, so we can get this ball rolling down the field. Because I have serious concerns about the Atwood House. There's only so much you can do to a building that is that old. And if somebody would ever come in, I question whether it can really withstand a rigorous inspection for ADA compliance. I really do. So we have to correct that. And if we don't do it now, unfortunately, people say, well, we can wait a few years. It's not going to be a few years. It's going to be 5, probably more likely 10, before we can slot it in to the schedule again. So they ask, why are we rushing it now? Why are we rushing it? Because now's the time where we have the funding that we've worked so hard to be able to do, and to go ahead and just basically throw that out the window, to me, just doesn't make sense. So I say, absolutely don't look at what, a standalone building would, standalone. I think we should be able to, the building committee should be able to go to the town, say, look, if you want to go this route, it's going to cost this many millions of dollars more, because you're talking about anytime you're constructing a new building, you're adding 7 figures plus. And it makes no sense. There's been out there in social media, well, let's make, once the police station is built, we can have the seniors in there. I wouldn't put my dog into that old police station. I feel sorry for our police force that's had to work in those conditions for these many years. The only thing for that building is a tear down. You cannot rehab it. It's just economically not feasible. So if you want to put it, a standalone there, not only do you have the additional cost of building a standalone building, plus the additional cost of tearing that facility down, which is not going to come cheap. So, I think it needs to be made clear to the town, if possible, what you're looking at of cost of a standalone building. If we were flush with cash, you bet I would love to have a standalone building for our seniors, because I think it's the right thing to do. But you have to weigh on a timeline of what we can afford now, because if you wait 5 to 10 years, your costs are automatically going to be escalating. It'll be a lot more expensive than it is now. And we just can't, unfortunately, afford it. So do you just do nothing because you have to have a standalone building and keep putting up with using the Atwood House as our COA? Or do we say, okay, 3/4 of a low or 80% of a low is a heck of a lot better than no percent of a low. So I'll get off my soapbox now. Voice my opinion, and I done did it. Moving on. Minutes, license, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours. Meetings of 3/12/18.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of 3/12/18.
I have a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? You're just thinking how much you're really going to miss this, right? All right. There is no executive session tonight. Next meeting will be April 3rd, when we will have an executive session to be attended by town council. And then town meeting April 24th at 6:30 p.m.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank